This is the Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin. Welcome to Investor Connect. Today we're here with Gleb Davidyuk of iTech Capital. Gleb, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Hall. Thanks, everyone.
Can you tell us how you got into venture capital?
Well, it's a long story to go, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much a short one. So it was back in 1994 when I was a student. So I was trying to write down the business plan and making some money for life. And then I actually was invited into one of the venture funds being set up in Central Russia. So, and that's how I started. Then 5 years with this fund, then 5 years with another fund, then 5 years with the third fund. And there's then another 5 years with my fourth, which was the fund of myself already. So being head of one of the founder partners. And now the fifth fund going forward. So kind of family of funds, though each of them were like 5-6 years period.
So you now run iTech Capital. Can you tell us more about iTech and what they look for and invest in?
Yeah, iTech Capital is a family of funds today. So we manage two kind of country-specific funds, allocated money in Central Eastern Europe, and two international funds, which is Fund 1 and Fund 2. Those are sector-specific funds, mostly growth capital, investing in later stage businesses within few segments, such as travel, software as a service, processing, the crypto world, and everything was related to the blockchain technologies on the back end, and so on, marketing tech.
And so you mentioned the blockchain. Can you tell us more about what you look for in blockchain or ICO level deals, or do you look at ICO at all?
Well, we invested into the Bitfury, that's the name of the company, one of the leaders, in a mining segment and also software segment. And generally, this is probably one of the largest corporations in the world with respect to the Bitcoin blockchain technology. And it seems to be like we were one of the largest and one of the early investors in this sector at all, from the institutional point of view. It was back in 2015. So since that time, we did a few ICO as well, but ICO is a kind of an alternative route to investing into the sector, which is developing, which is a kind of people love to say that the blockchain in general and Bitcoin in particular is a bubble, but I would say I'm not agree with this, and I think ICO is a way of funding. It looks like a bubble, way more clear rather than Bitcoin itself. So, but still we are participating in that as well, and just to see the opportunities on the market. That's our route to blockchain and then Bitcoin. And the ICO is a way of funding. So therefore, again, ICO is just a way of funding, while the blockchain Bitcoin technologies are the subject which we will invest money into.
So blockchain is coming into all the sectors now, healthcare, financial, real estate, etc. What is your investment thesis around blockchain? What are you looking for in a company that's doing a blockchain technology that separates it from one you will invest in and one you will not?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really separate whether the company is from the blockchain sector technology or not. So I'm looking for the nice investment targets, investment opportunities. And since we understand certain segments within the digital world better than others, it allows us to understand a bit of a deeper technology on the back. So from this perspective, blockchain is just a blue ocean to go. And the technologies which are based on a blockchain, as you're absolutely right, coming into each and every segment of today's world, digital world. So from this perspective, I would invest into something which has a blockchain technology and has fundamentally healthy metrics, whether this is financials or user-based metrics. And I wouldn't invest in anything which is too early to say that this will fly. And to be honest, in the blockchain in particular, 99.9% of the deals are like that today.
What do you think about companies that have substantial revenue with a non-blockchain application, say $5-10 million of annual revenue, and they now want to move into blockchain? I hear that more and more every day, people with good growth companies looking at blockchain as a growth path. Can they switch out their technology from non-blockchain to blockchain without too much disruption in their business? And is that a viable path for growing companies who are already past the initial installation of their application?
Well, if you jump 20 years back, probably some of the journalists was asking some of the VCs whether they believe that email will actually kill the fax and the telephone numbers. And then if you jump back into 10 years history, then some of the journalists was asking the VC guys whether the IP as a way of talks as Skype will kill the phone and mobile applications. And then now you're asking me whether the blockchain will be commonly accepted going forward in many other industries other than the crypto world itself. And the answer is yes. So it's just a protocol which makes the business economics better. And everything which makes the economics better will be accepted by the business environment, by businesses all around the world. So yes, there are barriers to go. Yes, there are uncertainties, but it's just time to market. And this time to market will be way shorter than when it took for voice over IP to grab the world, or emails or internet to grab the world.
But if you're Google or Facebook or a very, very large company that has so much already installed in non-blockchain technology, can they really switch their industry or their technology to a blockchain? Because otherwise it would be a great disruptor in the industry for companies with blockchain to come up and take over Google and Facebook because the incumbents could not change. Or do you think we will see Google and Facebook have blockchain solutions in another 6 months, a year, doing their own ICOs, doing their own tokens and so forth?
I'm sure they will. So we all heard of probably one of the largest ICOs introduced by Telegram, which is a messenger, one of the largest messengers in the world. And they actually switched to that, introducing the blockchain technology on its backend and introducing its own tokens. In respect to the bigger guys such as Google, Facebook, or others, I'm sure they're all watching the technology because it's just a matter of time when the technology will be mature enough to be able to be used on a larger scale, such as the Google or Facebook figures. And again, if you ask me, do I believe that this is something necessary and something which will be a usual part of our day-to-day life? Yes, it will, and it will probably take less than 5 years to adopt.
Talk about ICOs for a moment. I hear increasingly entrepreneurs say, I'm going to skip that next round of funding from the venture capitalists, and instead I'm going to go run an ICO. And when I ask why, they say, well, I can control the terms with an ICO. With the venture capitalists, I'm up for a certain amount of dilution no matter what. How do you think the ICO raise is going to impact the venture capital model?
Well, I do believe the venture capital guys will use the ICOs as a way of monitoring the good deals in the area and to originate a potential later stage deal for themselves, while the entrepreneurs will still use the venture capital or private equity guys as a way of value added rather than way of funding. Because when you do the marriage with the partner for the next 3 to 5 years from today, you are not looking only for funding. You are looking for something to be added to your business through the professional background, the networking, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the key. And none of the ICO will provide that in addition to funding routes they provide. So the smart money are still required.
So the ICO will give you money, but venture capital will give you money plus advisory. And so those who need the advisory. So it sounds like venture capital is going to be moving more and more into the advisory mode as opposed to just fund or money only, because now anyone can get that from an ICO.
Not necessarily. I do believe that getting money from the ICO as a way of funding will become more and more difficult with the time being. Because again, the crypto community, which is an ultimate beneficial owner of today's ICOs, is limited. So it's not growing that as opposed to the capital markets. From this point of view, you get to the crypto stuff, but it's limited. And you still need to be more funded in order to finance your growth going forward. So all in all, they will exist together. And even though to get the ICO and to move to the ICO as a way of funding will be more costly with the time being. It's because the pricing of this way of finance is increasing. So you still need to invest into the marketing, you still need to invest into transparency, you still need to invest into the SEC, if you will, equity tokens versus utility token. And again, regulation will come to this area as well. All of that together will make the ICO not that much better than the typical way of fundings. And from this point of view, VC will exist providing smart capital toward the entrepreneurs. ICO will exist providing the easy and crypto world compared to the typical capital markets. But the price to go to ICO will increase going forward. And this is a question when the market will be situated.
Right. So the governments are taking time to figure out the ICO. They're bringing regulation to it. They seem like they're moving a lot faster with this round than they did in 1994 with the dot-com world, where they didn't do much and it ended badly for the investor. But here it looks like they're getting in earlier. They're putting in controls and they're figuring it out a lot faster than they have in the past, although there's nothing fast about the U.S. government or any government in their decision process. But in the long term, don't you think that more funding will come out of ICOs, given the mechanism lets anyone invest directly as opposed to funds? And in the long term, would not more funding come from ICOs? Or do you not think that's the case?
Well, I do think that the regulation should be in this market, and it should come faster than we expect because there is still a lot of on the market. And from this perspective, again, I'm in favor to regulate this market more and more going forward. Probably I'm not sounds popular, but it's the way to actually make the whole craziness of the fastness of this financing route is a little bit more regulated and transparent.
We've now had a very exact year in 2017. Many ICOs were funded. And here we are 3 months into it, and over 40% of the ICOs of 2017 are already dead. It seems investors are taking a pause from ICO investing and demanding much higher quality, and so before they'll put money into an ICO because there's been too many that went down already. And so it's a flight to quality. What do you see out there? Where do you think the ICOs are going to do best in the market?
Exactly, you're absolutely right. And this is okay. The whole market actually were created less than 2 years ago, so a year and a half. So that means the first ICO were like relatively big. Now you need to provide the results to its investors. So from this perspective, it's about the time to show the case, to show the business. And I do believe this summer in particular, many of those who has nothing to show to its investors will go out of the market or will go back to VCs, trying to get the money in a typical way to refinance its obligations of the ICO or something like that. So, and you are absolutely right that investors take the pause because the professional investors, not to the retail, taking that seriously and taking the investment decisions seriously all the time, no matter how big is an ICO participation or whether this is ICO or direct equity investment. So taking seriously meaning that, again, the typical fundamental analysis is applicable to any investment opportunity, whether this is ICO or not. And the entrepreneurs should take count of that. So they should understand that, yes, the ICO may look like an easy way to fund the company in the short term, but in the longer term, or even by the end of this year, you need to be the same way as you would take it going to the VC guys or private equity guys.
So the demands for the ICO will rise up and match the challenging requirements of the VC at some point, as all investors do. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, all the VC guys, or even not VC guys, all the ones who is investing today, pretty much open. So you can easily get me on Facebook, you can easily get me via the LinkedIn or another social way of media. My email and my phone number is on my website. So, man, in today's world, to get a contact of any person you need is just a way of how proper you communicate with your devices in front of you. That's it. So I'm pretty much open.
Very good. We'll put those in the show notes. It's easy to get a hold of you through the website, so we'll put that in there and make that easy for people to reach back out to you if they have any questions or want to talk with you about their deal as well. I appreciate your taking time to talk today and hope to have you back to discuss further these topics as the market in blockchain and ICO progresses. I'm sure there'll be many more discussions to have about it.
Absolutely, Carl. Thanks for the questions. I think they're all up to date and up to the market needs.
Great, thanks.
Indeed.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.